Today's show is brought to you by howdoicreateapodcast.com. Want to create your very own podcast to promote you and your business? Learn how you can become a rockstar podcaster in 30 days or less. Just visit howdoicreateapodcast.com. That's howdoicreateapodcast.com.
Welcome to Out of the Box with Christine. Are you willing to step into your greatness? Are you ready to shine? Well, get ready, Truth Seeker. You're in for an amazing ride. And now, here's the host of the show, Christine Blosdale.
Welcome back to Out of the Box with Christine. I am your host, Christine Blosdale, and I am your expert authority business coach, helping entrepreneurs of all stripes to get the message out about their business through podcasting, videos, all that great stuff. And today I'm very excited because someone that is here with us today is going to really help us with that marketing. Before we went on air, I was talking to my guest today, Adam Nathan, about the issue that so many entrepreneurs and coaches have, and consultants and authors, is that they're really good at what they do. They have great expertise at what they do, but then to get the word out and tell the world what it is that they do, and to get noticed in a very large crowd of people, it's very difficult. And sometimes people get overwhelmed and then they throw the hat. They go, I can't do this business anymore. Well, we're going to give you hope today because my guest is Adam Nathan. He is the CEO and founder of Blaze.AI, which is an incredible service that he provides, which helps produce blog posts, social media content, ad copy, and marketing assets. And here's the thing, all in your brand voice, okay? Not some computerized artificial intelligence Terminator language, but in your brand voice. So welcome to Out of the Box, Adam. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So tell us, because I like the journey, I like the hero's journey. Tell us a little bit about how you came up, how you created this, because you saw that there was an issue that people had with getting the word out about their business or marketing. But how did you come up with this whole idea?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My grandfather owned a small insurance agency in New Jersey. My brother is also a founder of a cookware company, and my parents are small business owners. So I have always had small business and founder type people around me growing up. I knew from a pretty young age I wanted to start something on my own to help other people, and I wasn't always sure what it was. But I think in my own process, I didn't have to look very far, just basically to my parents who, as I mentioned, work together in an outdoor business that they run in New York City. My parents have built a life for themselves that I benefited from. They built a business that helped create a great childhood for me, put me through college, has helped them live well and spend their weekends at the beach. And for most of their businesses lifespan, it was a brick and mortar business. My dad continues to spend his days walking between offices in Midtown to match buyers to sellers and that kind of thing. But as the internet started to grow, my parents never really made the leap online. And so, to this day, they still don't have a website. They don't do any digital marketing. They don't produce content. They don't have a newsletter, despite being very successful offline. And for years, my brother and I would sit around the dining room table saying, hey, it's so easy to produce a website. It's, it's really easy to make an ad on Instagram. And my parents would kind of look at us
Right. You might as well say, go to the moon, fly to the moon.
Exactly. While it's easy for my brother and I who grew up as digital natives, it's actually not easy for a lot of people to figure out how to grow online. And I think there's lots of great tools these days to start to build an online foundation. Things like Squarespace and Shopify can help you get online, but actually using the internet to grow your business is an unsolved problem. So to figure out what exactly you should be putting in those emails or on your Instagram page or on your website, that takes skill and it takes experience and it takes time. And the thing about a lot of entrepreneurs and small business owners and teams of one is that while they are really good at their core job, they're really good financial planners or real estate agents or candle makers. They're not marketers by trade. And so they don't know how to write, high converting web page content. They don't know how to craft an image and copy that gets someone to click on Instagram. They don't know how to manage content or creative on an ad platform. And so there's actually a very small group of people in the whole world who know how to do those things. They're typically concentrated in San Francisco or LA or New York. They work for really big companies or professional marketing agencies. But for small teams, they obviously don't have the time or resources to work with that kind of skill and expertise. They have to do this stuff on their own. And it's a skill set they don't have. And so just like my parents, what we wanted to do with Blaze is use the power of AI to help people generate weeks worth of content for their blogs, for social media, that looks and sounds just like them so that they can really use the power of the internet to grow and make more money, build a brand people love, create a community online, and ultimately be in charge of their own destiny.
Well, and communicate with the world that is online, that is in social media, and communicate in that language, right? Because it's a very
Yeah,
different world from a brick and mortar store as well, right?
I think
To having posts, because it's a whole other lifestyle. It's a whole, if somebody walked into let's say their store, their shop, they could have a conversation. They could go, I really like these people. And they find out that the products are really amazing. They're made really well. And they could develop something. That's kind of takes a little bit of time. But our attention span as human beings is that of a gnat, right? I mean, we scroll, blah, 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 blah. So being able to capture someone's attention right away in those first few seconds, if it's a video or podcast, but in the promotional stuff that you do, the marketing, you have to capture that person's attention right away. And we're not all skilled in that, are we?
I think that's right. When I talk to our customers, and we have tens of thousands of users who use Blaze every day to generate marketing content, I hear a very similar story every time, which is that most entrepreneurs know that their goal is to grow faster. They know that the internet is a place where they can be driving more sales or selling more products. They know to do that, they have to do marketing on the internet. And marketing on the internet doesn't just mean create one Instagram post or write one blog. It means doing the same thing over and over again, creating creative and compelling content that engages people and compels them and converts them day in and day out. And all the people who use our platform are, as I mentioned, are not expert marketers by trade, nor do they have the time to write a blog every single day of the week or produce 3 Instagram reels per day. That can take one person's entire week or multiple people's entire week if you're even in a small company. And so even though they know what's good for them, which is to be producing content on the internet that helps grow awareness for their business and create a legion of fans and ultimately make more money, they don't have the time or expertise to do it.
And you, what captured me immediately, and maybe it's because of I don't know if it's my age and my love of of the comic book style and the sort of the superhero, Marvel superhero thing is the style of Blaze.AI. When you go to the website, you chose a interest that sort of that comic book feel, which it makes it. What I love about it is that it's familiar and it's fun. It could have been a dry, it could have been some dry marketing thing of, we will make you a millionaire. No, it's really exciting and it draws you in right away. That was on purpose, obviously.
Yeah, it was. And you'll see our brand. We like to think of our brand as like a pop culture brand. And as we launch some really exciting stuff in the next couple of months, the brand itself will evolve to other moments where pop culture really helps society transition into a new era. And we love super heroes and comics for a couple of reasons. One is because what we think our technology does, both Blaze specifically, but AI generally, is that it can help turn ordinary people like you and me into extraordinary people. And I think a lot of entrepreneurs especially want to be heroes of their own stories. They are proud of the work that they've done. They see themselves, pulling themselves up by their bootstraps and making something of their time and creativity and effort. And so there's a classic hero's journey that goes on, I think, with every founder and entrepreneur and team of one across the country. And a lot of our customers aren't trying to be Apple or Amazon or some huge company. They're just trying to make something of themselves. And so often, what they struggle with is just breaking through. And I think there's with the technology that we built, people can do way more than they could on their own, often in half the time. And so there's an element of like magic, I think, to our software. But what's interesting about comics more generally is that the golden age of comics was in the 50s, which was a huge time of societal and technological change. And we think the technology we now have with AI is going to fundamentally change how we all work, how we all live. And not necessarily, I'm an optimist. I don't think it's for the worse. I think, especially for small businesses, which I think are the backbone of the economy, it will enable all of us to do a lot more than we could before. And even if you're a small team, one person on your team, you will now have the capacity to do the work of 10 people in the same amount of time. And I think to do it with a higher degree of quality than you could before. And so we want to use culture as a way to help people understand the shift that's happening and become comfortable with it, become cool with it. And comics did that in the 50s. And we think we're in a very similar moment right now.
Absolutely. Well, and that little thing called COVID, it changed a lot of people's lives where they had that reliance on the job. They were working for someone else, and then all of a sudden they were either underemployed or unemployed, or they had to really quickly pivot and go, okay, I'm I need to really think about what it is that I want to do and how to be self-sufficient, because that was that was a big takeaway from that as well. And I love how you refer to the team of one, because
Yeah.
I was just taking inventory on all of the things that I need to know, or all of the things that I do in order just for my small team of one with my business. And yeah, it's a lot. It's as if you're like making a film and you're having to be the sound design person, the set design, the costume, the director, the producer, the financial person, because you got to pay for
Yeah.
everything, the star, the actor, the bit players that are in the back, you know, the dog that you bring up. I mean, everything that's involved in a
Absolutely.
film, there's a lot of people that are involved. And that's what it is when you're a team of one, as a solopreneur or an entrepreneur. That is, it can be very overwhelming. So I'm really glad that I'm super happy that you're on the show, because you can let people know about this. And we're going to jump in. I want to jump into what Blaze.ai actually does and the difference, because when you hear AI, immediately people think of Chat GPT, right? And I, as somebody who has used Chat GPT before in the past, I understand, and it's very helpful in a lot of different ways. But what's the difference between Blaze.ai and, let's say, a Chat GPT?
Yeah, I'll go through a couple of, I think, things that make us distinctive. The first is that Blaze generates very specific content in your brand voice and style. And so what Blaze can do is analyze your website or other marketing materials you have to detect your tone of voice, your syntax, your sentence structure, so that all the content it generates sounds like you. And you can even create multiple brand voices for different product lines or geographies you may serve or customer segments you want to talk to, so that depending on where you're doing marketing, you can really connect with your customer. The second thing Blaze does is produce not just one piece of content, but weeks worth of content. Because as I mentioned, real growth in the internet comes from repetitive marketing, not just from doing something once. And I think anyone out there who's made only one Facebook post or one Instagram post knows that doesn't really move the needle. What does is constantly talking to your customers. And so what Blaze can do is create up to a month's worth of content across for social media sites or for blog posts. So you can say, in July, I want to talk about Fourth of July content to sell my product to beach-going audiences, and Blaze can create content every single day that includes not just copy but also images and video. And lastly, Blaze can connect with different social media sites and publishing platforms to directly post that content for you. So you can go from kind of a high-level idea all the way through to dynamic visual content in your tone of voice that it is auto scheduled and posted basically in just a couple clicks. And what's different about that versus ChatGPT is that ChatGPT is a great tool. I use it a lot for personal use, like getting restaurant recommendations in a different city, but it's not specifically a marketing tool. So you can ask ChatGPT for something, but you're basically talking to a chatbot. It's really hard to edit. It's not a document editor. It's not. It doesn't detect your tone of voice. It doesn't post for you. So what we're trying to build with Blaze is really a one-stop shop for teams of one to go from concept all the way through to execution without having to do any of the work themselves, at a much higher level of quality in half the time.
Oh, bless you. And you had mentioned that it it creates videos too. How does that happen? How?
Yeah,
Do tell,
so
because I love video, so I'm very intrigued by that.
Yeah, so this is a bit of a sneak peek of some stuff we'll be launching later this summer. But today, the core of Blaze is a document editor. And so the content it produces is a lot of text. And today, you can upload images, or Blaze will select stock images for you to go along with social media content or blog posts or websites. But what we will be launching relatively soon is a visual studio. We call it the Designer. That's much more of a visual editor where Blaze can take your website or images that you have and put them against different custom backgrounds, put text on top of them, again, auto schedule and post them for you, and then do the same thing with video. And so Blaze itself, a lot of marketing these days is visual. It's not just the copy, but really the thing that people are seeing in their feed. And so the core of our tool will start to transition much more to a kind of a visual base versus a text base. But it'll create content in the same hyper personalized way that we create copy and text today. And so it'll do that for both still images. So if you're an e-commerce platform, we can help you create content for your products and services. But we will also create video content for you that goes on things like Reels or TikTok or YouTube Shorts. And so, all of this is live for a small group of our beta customers right now. But for everyone else listening, stay tuned for some exciting news later this
If
summer.
you need another beta tester, you know where I live. Okay, because one of my I'm late to the game to TikTok, but I love TikTok. I love it. I love it. I love it. And it's the algorithm. Because it's your people, your tribe. They find you, and once they find you, they stick. But it's just such a great algorithm. And my frustration is that is time, is sitting there thinking of an idea for a video, and it's very specific. It's a vertical video. Many times it needs to be rather short, but I've got all this content. So I've got podcasts with guests. I've got, great conversations. I've got webinars and workshops that I've recorded. I've got all this video. And if I was able to have a place where I can go in and say, chop it up and make it look good and add your little whistles and all that great stuff, then we're talking a real huge game changer, because then I'm able to reach my audience in a way that's comfortable for them. Facebook is awesome, but for me, it's a bit more like my, your uncles and your aunties. It's a little older.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I would love to. I'm very excited about what you're creating over there at Blaze. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we are too.
Yeah. That's awesome. And so the idea too, and I really want to drive this home for people who are fuzzy about Blaze.ai. What intrigues me the most is that all of this content, if it's social media content or blog posts, or if you're doing an ad for, I've just released an audiobook, right? And I don't know the first thing about really doing ads for promoting my audiobook, but I'm going to go to Blaze to figure that out. But you do it in the person or the business's brand's, the brand voice. And again, that's the big difference between the Chat GPT and another AI software that I love is Perplexity. Love it. Love it. It's like the sophisticated uncle of Chat GPT. I like it.
Mhm.
But being able to create something or write something or take something that I've written and to throw it in there, it always comes out into AI voice. Do you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? That
Yeah.
It's repetitive. They use, you know, instead of saying something about me, it's like, the world renowned Christine Blosdale. Well, okay, a few people know me, but it's the adjectives and the descriptors that they use are quite over the top sometimes. So to have it be in your brand. Now, I don't want to peek behind the curtain too much, but how did you do that? How
Yeah,
did
I
you
mean,
do
a lot of what we do is analyze generally, materials that you give us. This is how AI or LLMs work in general. They try and create inference between large data sets, and so we're able to look at the way that you've written, either copy on your website or even in a document or just a paragraph, and compare it to ways other people write text across the internet, and discern the differences on a range of attributes like your syntax or your tone or who we think you're talking to or your sentence structure. And so we can break down your brand voice and tone into these ingredients and then use it to craft or generate more content for you in the future.
So if you're someone who is humorous and funny and fun and lighthearted, that's going to be picked up and conveyed, as opposed to, let's say, an open heart surgeon type thing, right? Like, well, maybe there's very funny open heart surgeons, but what I'm saying is that there's a professional, like a corporate professional voice, and then there's the another voice.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
to your point, there's literally infinite combinations of the attributes that make up voice and tone, and so that's the idea, is that even professional or funny doesn't tend to describe someone's unique way of talking to their community or their customers, and so we try and give people a pretty descriptive take on the way they talk. And I think one hallmark about our product is we often show people what we think. So when you're writing a blog post, we'll generate titles and then let you edit them in case we didn't get them right. And for
correct.
a brand voice feature, we show you what we think it is and let you edit it. And so, our goal is to get to 90% accuracy with most things, but we know that in the end, most people will want to tweak something on their own. If it's only 50% good, most people will probably stop using our product. Our hope is we get it 100% good as much as possible, but we still think there's often edits users want to make. And so having a robust editing tool at our base versus just a simple chat interface like ChatGPT can allow you or your team to go in and actually tweak the final thing, make sure you love it before you ship it.
And that was the other thing you just mentioned. So it's also another aspect that I really love is that it's not unique to just the one user. Where that if you have a team, if you're not a team of one and you have a team of 3 or 5 or 10 or whatever, you can share those assets. So you can share that ad copy that's been created, or the blog post, or the Instagram post that's going to be going up. You can share that with others and allow them access to edit it, or to at least to view it before it goes live, I guess, right?
That's
That's
right. Yeah.
good. That's really good. Wow. Well, your parents made sure that you were very, very smart in your education and your upbringing, because this is just really phenomenal. And again, I'm very happy that I found it. I'm going to dive deeper into it, um, just because I just think it's really amazing. If people want to find out more, of course, they can go to
Blaze.ai.
Blaze.ai. And is it my understanding, there's a bit of you can try it out for a little bit before you commit fully?
Yeah, there's 7 days free. So you can go in, test it out, generate a ton of content, make sure it's right, and then hopefully you stick around.
Ah, that means your product is really good when you do that. I love that.
We
Adam,
think so.
Nathan, thank you so much. I'll make sure that I'll put a link in the show notes, obviously, to Blaze.ai. And for our listeners and our viewers that are on YouTube, give us feedback too. Let us know how you're doing with this and what you're creating. Would love to be able to follow you and see the growth of your business. So please do check it out, Blaze.ai. That link will be in the show notes. And thank you again, Adam, for being with us today. It's been an absolute pleasure, and you're welcome back anytime. And thank you, wonderful listeners and subscribers, to the podcast Out of the Box with Christine. If you want more information about the podcast, about some of my recent books that I've just created, there's an audiobook that just became #1 called Pod Your Way to Success. And you can find out all that information at my website, which is christineblosdale.com. A link will be in the show notes as well. And as I always say, every single time we end a show, remember to think outside that damn box. Bye for now.